And again, just on the bottom of this page, then, to reiterate, staff will identify numerous significant opportunities for the village board to consider, either increasing revenues, some of that may be tonight, reducing expenditures, which will be on September 15th, both in order to help manage the impact of these items on the village property tax levy. However, we bring forward to you that meaningful decreases to achieve significant budget reductions will most likely remain reducing service and staffing levels. So we'll provide those opportunities in chunks for you to at least get a sense for the types of things that would be involved to make significant moves in the budget, and then again incorporate those into your global budget review process, and we'll come up with a plan. And the last page is our standard template language response to vision plan, sustainability, motions, which is just for the record. I have no comment on those.
I just wanted to thank staff for, I think this is the first year since I've been here, but that it's recognizing some of the structural or cyclical deficits that we're going to face in the upcoming future. And I know that this is probably the first time the residents are hearing about some structural deficit or a gap in financing that we need to fill for each year. And so thank you for the memo. I appreciate it. And thanks for looking at the different ways we can increase our revenue and decrease our expenditures. And I'm very hopeful that in the upcoming months and the upcoming year, we'll have additional workshops and some other meetings, special meetings, that we can discuss this for the following budget. So thank you. Are we done with that item?
I am concluded, unless you have any additional questions. I'd be ready to move on to the next item number 2.
Okay. With no additional questions, we'll move on to item 2. Consider the administrative staff's revisions to the fee schedule. Is this our finance director?
It's all marked all night, so one of the things as we tried to tackle tonight's agenda, we recognize there's a lot of things going on. So we felt that it would be beneficial to try to separate them out as much as possible so that we could get direct guidance from the board, either an affirmative or not, on whether to proceed with some of these actions. And again, whatever we proceed with would be made into the fee schedule and or budget. Whatever is voted down, there will be a record that it was considered and not advanced at this point in time. And we try to be within a certain zone of tolerability of some of these concepts, but clearly there's some new ideas here, again, for you to consider. But the first thing we wanted to do was just a general review of the fee schedule. We looked at all of our past ordinances, we looked at our existing fee schedule, we looked at how things were worded, how things were grouped, we looked at what we're really doing, and we came up with a red line version of the fee schedule that says, this is what we'd like to do to reorganize it and refresh the fee schedule. Again, just to repeat myself for the record, I mean, this was done to ensure that all of the village's fees are properly listed, to help identify any gaps in the fee schedule whereby specific services or privileges are being provided for which fees may be appropriate, and to consider whether or not the amounts of these fees are set at levels that reasonably reflects the costs or benefits of the services being provided. So we've got a red line version of the fee schedule. Red is changes. Blue is red is changes in context. Blue is changes in amount. And I'll caveat that a little bit that we started on the very first page by adding a whole section about open records. It's been a kind of a topic at the forefront across the state. Department of Justice has given some guidance on that. So we felt it prudent to kind of consolidate all of our fees related to this into a all departments summary perspective, what the village will do for open records requests. We're fortunate in many respects that we don't have a lot of open records requests that typically take a lot of time and staff resources, but we certainly felt it was important to put that on record so that when we do have those requests, we're consistent on how we approach them. Obviously, the clerk will interpret what's applicable to be charged, what is not. The first item in that is our actual cost for copies of municipal records is 25 cents is too high. We recommend moving that down from 10 cents. And again, the motion for this is to take the whole thing as redlined and to hopefully approve it effective 1/1/19. So I'm going to just go through the whole thing, and then if that motion is forthcoming, hopefully we can get that or get that with an amendment.
I just have one question about the notary services.
Yes.
So is that something that other municipalities typically offer for free with the documentation for that community? I mean, I know it's just typically the charge service for everything that I have needed to have notarized.
Sarah, you might have a little more information on that one item.
Yeah, so it'd be like if you were coming in for beverage operator's license, it's our document that we are requiring a notary on.
Okay.
So we would do it for free, and most municipalities do that as well.
So is all of these related to open records? And the only reason I ask that is, if so, can we put that heading, and if not?
Well, there is a heading open records request as applicable under Wisconsin state statutes. Everything underneath that is open.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But we want to make our fees for incidental copying consistent with our open records, so we don't have two different
Yeah.
fees for charging. And we don't have that much activity, but again, we wanted to disclaim that it's for municipal records, and we're not going to be a copy shop for the community.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And just a question for video, so like, I remember mentioning this when we changed the record retention schedule last year, but it was police video. So when people ask for an open records request to obtain their police video, is that covered?
Yes, the police department, Chief Nimmer was involved with this review and actually recommended this format and to the group.
So clear.
And the group concurred to include it basically consistent with the Department of Justice recommendations for
I'm just asking.
release of electronic media, which videos would be a part, usually they provided their CDs.
Okay, so it's on flash drive. Yeah. Okay, thanks. And does anyone else have? Oh, trustee Menta.
Under direct hourly rate for research and compiling of documents or other records not readily available as requested, like, what does that mean exactly?
That means the hourly rate of the most affordable person who could compile that information. Sometimes that may be a clerk, sometimes it may be the finance director, some other department head. It really just depends on the nature. Department of Justice, I think, has more expansive access administratively to some of their records, so their clerks can do it a little more often. Some things may require a department head to compile. So depending on who has to do the work would be that person's hourly rate.
I mean, the issue I have with this is that we could, in some cases, do a better job in terms of making things on our website publicly available. And so I'm being concerned about public access to understanding what's going on and working with our village government. You know, for example, if I wanted to know when did person X first get appointed to the Parks Commission, when I've had a question like that, I've had to go back and go through minutes and keep going back and saying, okay, they were there in October of 2006, but they weren't there in August of 2006, so they must have been appointed somewhere in there. I mean, that's but that's because that's the way our records are kept and presented. So I have a little bit of concern that as we talked about document management and agenda management, we could be doing a better job in terms of presentation of our documents, and then if somebody has a question then that they then have to pay. So I was kind of.
Well, if I can just make two comments, that was a very good observation. Number one, is for records not readily available to staff. Not whether or not it's posted on a website. If I've got a document that's prepared, it's not on a website, it's readily available to me, I provide it to them, probably by email. There's no charge for that. There's no charge for looking up a fact if it takes less than a half hour, is that correct? Or is it $20 value?
It's like less than a half hour if you don't have to redact personal information. Like if
So
someone
again-
requests all the voter records, we have to physically redact.
You can't charge for the review of redaction, it's in the law. But you can charge for.
But again, we would do it according to statutes by request, but it's not meant to get people up for incidental type things. So, the open records is always a challenge. We're going to continue to work on our record systems, document recovery things, to make it more effective for staff as well. But again, the intent is to put in a reference for which we can move forward on, should a complicated and exhaustive request come in, we would have this on record.
Trustee Warren.
Hey, Mark, more in the way of a comment or a recommendation. In putting in these open records request rates, I would just note that I'm looking at the DOJ guidance right now, it was updated July 2018. So I would assume and I would hope that the village has a process for monitoring when that's updated. I would guess that it's updated relatively frequently. So if we actually put this down as a policy, and this is how much we charge, I think we want to make sure that it's always in accordance with our state statutes.
Well, the DOJ guidance, I believe, is for state records. I don't believe that that's
Are you sure?
intended to direct what local municipalities must charge.
It seems to map onto what, we can take this off.
It's
It seems to
reasonable,
map
but,
on
yeah.
to what we-
And again, we have copied, with the exception of our staff rates and our copy costs, which again, we probably don't have quite as efficient system as the state does for printing out records, it's a little more manual. We have modeled after that kind of thing. So yes, I think that's going to be part of our annual reviews to make sure we look at the current data.
On that, sorry, Trustee Margaret.
I'll have to come up with a maximum of $44 an hour.
That's typically the maximum hourly rate for department head level staff.
So I have two questions going on both of those. So on Trustee Warren's, so the League of Municipalities is where I got the information that I sent to you and asked if we had incorporated it. So it's odd if it only applied to DOJ that the League would be sending that out to municipalities, right?
These are supposed to be administrative reviews. I was hoping to get through this in about 5 minutes. So if you're not comfortable with something, I just strike it from review and can circle back and come back some other time about this.
No, I'm just asking, I didn't say any of these, I'm just wondering for his, maybe we just put a footnote that says, this may be monitored and consistent, something like
Yeah,
that.
and we're going to monitor this every year, I think.
Okay.
Again, are there multiple sources to your point? Very
It could
point
be.
well taken.
So I think just to satisfy Trustee Warren's statement. And then my other question was, going on Trustee Maher's, could we add in our fee schedule something that says what you just said, something about we'll bring the least expensive staff person that's available to do it?
That's required under statute.
Oh, it is, okay, because I'm just wondering, for email searches, so if someone wanted an email search, we have to hire our IT staff currently not staff, contractor, to do that email search, because we didn't document the process that I know of, that we underwent last year. So until we have someone on staff that knows how to do an email request search, I'm not sure the $44 an hour covers our contractual obligations. I would hope maybe the clerk can be trained on that, but so I have a concern as well for Trustee Maher's with the $44.
Sure. I agree. I see your point.
So either we're going to need to hire it to cover the cost, or we can make a commitment to
We can go through these revisions and certainly come back with additional revisions at a future meeting if you'd like. And I'll make a note to touch base on some of those items for future revisions or additional revisions.
I guess it's a question for Rebecca, for our village manager. I mean, are we okay with, I mean, I don't know how much hours it would take for the IT to get someone on staff up to date on how to search emails? And if, is that,
not sure off the top of my head.
okay, because if it's easy, then we can just keep it, no more research on Mark's part. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to
I
do
do know
additional
what you're
tasks.
saying, yes.
Okay. That's all I had. Are there any other questions?
Page
Trustee Maher?
one, yes.
Yeah, we're just going page by page.
Page two then. Striking a couple fees and no longer apply. We have a proposal for a significant increase in the fee for filing a late business license. Again, when you look at the time and effort involved in dealing with the late submission of a business license, it is expensive. Staff believes that $100 is